So I just got done watching Bleach Hellverse, and I'll get right into it. My favorite Bleach movie. I've only watched two of them. Memories of Nobody was good, but Hellverse was even better. There's so much that I can and so much that I will say about Hellverse. The first thing I want to say is, wow, the amount of content that they packed into this 1 hour and 30-minute movie is insane. After watching Memories of Nobody, as much as I like that movie, at the end of it I was kind of thinking maybe if this movie was a little bit longer, maybe if it was an arc, the characters could have been further developed, aside from Sen, of course. The plot could have been better. The plot in Memories of Nobody was a little bit, predictable and straightforward, but Hellverse had none of those problems. In the same amount of runtime, we're talking an hour and 30 minutes, Hellverse had none of those problems. And when I was done with the Hellverse movie, it felt longer than an hour 30, and that's not in the bad way where, wow, this movie was so boring, it felt like it took forever to end. No, it felt like, did they really pack all of that into an hour 30? And the answer is yes. Movie exclusive characters with good writing, check. Villains with good writing, check. And good motivations, check. New Ichigo transformation, check. The Hellverse movie had it all. I kid you not. I'll try to explain this the best that I can. It might not make sense, but when I was finished with the movie, I felt like I just watched a 40 episode arc. And it was only an hour 30. That's about what, 5 episodes? I felt like I got so much. I didn't feel like it. I did get so much bang for my buck in just an hour 30. I'm having trouble, I literally am having trouble finding an issue that I have with this movie, because I don't. Maybe the fact that it's not canon, because I feel like the premise and the concept of the Hellverse movie is so cool that if it was canon, I would have no problem with it. And that's another thing that Hellverse did right. Conceptually, the entire movie is amazing. The entire idea of having to go to hell and back because your sisters have been captured by sinners who want to get freed from hell, is that not an amazing idea? Who wrote this? I know that Kubo had a hand in making this, and I believe that hell is canon within Bleach. And also, let me mention the aspect of this movie that everybody can appreciate, everybody with eyes. The animation, the choreography. Don't take what I'm about to say lightly. Thousand Year Blood War, if we're talking art style, the art style of Thousand Year Blood War has this movie beat every day of the week. But there were some cuts in this movie, animation-wise, choreography-wise, that can hold up to Thousand Year Blood War standards. I kid you not. The choreography in this, it was Naruto-esque, and Naruto's choreography is top tier. So it just made this movie an absolute joy to watch, even if I didn't care about the plot, because it's not canon. I know some people view movies that way. It's not canon. Why should I care? I'm in it for a good time. Oh, Trey, you're gonna get a good time watching this movie. If you're a Bleach fan and you watch this movie, trust me, you're in for an amazing time. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it now. I'm still mind blown by how crisp the animation was. I know it's a movie and they always go out for the movies, right? But for 2010 standards, no, this holds up today. And I think the animation cut that everybody thinks about when they think of Hellverse is at the very beginning of the movie. Vasto Lorde Ichigo versus Ulquiorra. They did this fight amazing, and for the very beginning of the movie, what a hook. So again, I ask, after everything that I've laid out, what does this movie not do good? To the untrained eye, or to the unsuspecting Bleach fan such as I, you might struggle to answer that question, but after I did a little bit of research, I found out that there's actually one thing this movie did not do good. It didn't involve Kubo enough. Kubo, I remember, I looked into this, I found out Kubo did not feel like he had that big of a part in this movie, which surprised me because I was looking at this movie like, this is an absolute masterpiece, Kubo. You had to have done this. But yeah, there's a fun little fact for y'all. Some of y'all that might not have known that Kubo did not play that big of a role in this movie. So as much as I like the movie, and I can say that I have no problems with the movie or the way that hell was depicted in this movie, I do wonder how would it have changed had Kubo been more active in the making of this movie. But let's get into the plot of the movie. And I know I was gassing the plot. I was talking about how good it was. I genuinely do think the plot of this movie is pretty layered, and it's a breath of fresh air coming off of Memories of Nobody. That as good as the character work in that movie was, the plot was a little bit lackluster. This was a breath of fresh air for the sole fact that the plot was better and the plot was good. But it's not perfect. Of course not. In fact, while we're at it, let me talk about one of my biggest gripes with this movie. So at the beginning of the movie, we have the 3 antagonists who appear to be the main villains of the story, and while they're not, they appear to be. Chad, of course, he's a part of the main group. He's fighting against these guys. They cripple him maybe 20 minutes into the movie at most, and the only reason they crippled him at the beginning of the movie is to make sure that he gets 0 screen time for the rest of the movie. It genuinely baffles me. I'm not even the biggest Chad fan in the world. I know that Chad fans must have hated that, but I just found that a little bit lazy, even though the movie still without Chad is a great movie. You know, this isn't canon. You can have Chad have his moments in the movie. That's 100% okay. At the end of the day, if Chad beats somebody, we know, okay, it's not an ass pull. This isn't even canon to begin with. Just why can't we see Chad win? Right? Why can't we see Chad win in a non-canon movie? We can't even have that. No. Cripple him at the beginning of the movie, sideline him. Who made that decision? All right, let me talk to him. Who made that choice? At least with Orihime, it makes sense because she's a healer. She doesn't fight. She doesn't scrap. Are you gonna bring her to hell? No. And she does have her moment later on in the series where she heals Ichigo's sister. All right, so Orihime gets screen time. Chad, he's a fighter. You could at least bring him to hell. They don't even deem Chad worthy enough of bringing him to hell in a non-canon movie. How are you shadow banned from hell? That's my question. But Ichigo and the gang, except for Chad, go into hell because they want to rescue Ichigo's sister. Right? Makes sense. This includes bringing a random guy along who looks a little too close to Kakashi and sounds a little too much like Zoro. And by the way, he's from hell, right? When he said, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy, I can't trust this guy. And rightfully so, because the main antagonist of the movie was not the three stooges that we saw at the beginning that took down Chad. It was this guy, which is cool, I guess, because we get the plot twist excitement of, oh my god, this guy's not really our ally, he's our enemy, which, you know, who would have thought the guy that came straight from hell was the bad guy? Part of me thinks it would have been a little more interesting if they made his character not a villain. Maybe if they played with the concept of, oh look, this guy's in hell because he did horrible things, but if you do horrible things, are you inherently a horrible person all the time? Which, you know, that sounds controversial, and I'm sure that some of y'all are gonna have your own opinions of that. Personally, I'm not trusting anybody from hell regardless, but I feel like if they played with that concept, it would have challenged the viewer morally, and it would have made a slightly more interesting character than what we got, but I'm still happy with the character that we got. The downside of this is him being the main antagonist. Then that kind of dulls down the character of the Three Stooges and the guy that they work for. You know, maybe I should know his name because this is a review, but if his character did not leave a lasting impression on me to the point that I don't even remember his name, maybe it's not worth knowing. And maybe that's, no, not maybe, that is a problem, because it felt like these characters were only introduced to aid the plot twist. Their characters only exist because they need to be bad guys on the surface so that the real bad guy can be working against them and look like a good guy, and then the plot twist happens. You understand what I mean? That's the only reason that they exist. But you know, what can you do? It's a 1 hour and 30-minute long movie. You cannot flesh out 4, 5, 6 different movie exclusive characters in an hour 30. It's simply impossible. So for what they are, at least they gave us pretty cool animation and a pretty cool fight. I like that. But after the plot twist and it looks like Ichigo, you know, Ichigo lost. Of course he didn't. This is a movie. We see Ichigo upset in a way that I don't even think he was this upset during the Fullbringer arc. So Ichigo must go back. Why? Because all of his friends are stuck in hell after the massive plot twist. Except for Chad, because Chad, he wasn't worthy enough of going to hell. He's in the ER. The captains come out for a little bit, and to be honest, they don't get much screen time, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air considering, you know, these are characters that we've known for a long time. If we wanted to see the captains, we'd go watch the anime. It allows us to focus on the movie exclusive characters if the captains get less screen time. Oh, and by the way, tiny details, since this is non-scripted, sometimes I forget a little stuff. Ichigo went Vasto Lord in mode, alright, and that's one of the coolest transformations in all the anime, so if you like that transformation, you gotta watch this movie. Anyways, now it's time for Ichigo to return to hell and save his friends, and save his friends he does in one of the coolest, come on, a movie exclusive transformation. Not even I was expecting this. And y'all say I have the almighty. How am I supposed to know that Ichigo is gonna have one of the coolest looking transformations and it's not even canon? That's what pains me. This isn't real. So Ichigo is getting help from hell itself. Does that make sense? Does that track? Maybe, maybe not. Honestly, it's pretty awesome regardless. That's all I can say. And Ichigo does Ichigo things, and Hellverse does Hellverse things, and gives us an amazingly animated fight for an anime movie. And keep in mind that you have to be a little bit lenient with it because, you know, there's not too much time to build up all these characters in the plot, but Hellverse was pretty darn good. If you really wanted to, you could sit here and start nitpicking stuff about the movie and it would honestly be valid. Ichigo trusting somebody from hell, it's a little bit questionable, right? But it's an anime a movie, and one that Kubo was hardly involved in at that. So that's all I view it as, enjoyment. I'm not trying to dissect this like I'm trying to dissect Thousand Year Blood War, the Soul Society arc. No, I'm here to just turn the movie on and have a good time. And if you're even slightly a fan of Bleach, I think that you'll enjoy Hellverse for that reason. Maybe not if you're a fan of Chad, but otherwise I don't see a reason as to why you wouldn't enjoy this movie. My only recommendation to anybody who hasn't seen the movie, which you know, my fault for spoiling you, go into it with a little bit of detachment and realize that Kubo, although he was involved in the making of this movie, not as heavily as he was with Memories of Nobody, and it really isn't even close to canon. But it's fun and it's enjoyable and it's Bleach, and if it's Bleach, I'll be there. So if you've enjoyed, please make sure to subscribe. Thank y'all for watching, of course, and I hope y'all have a great day, a better day than what Chad had in this movie. All right, take care, y'all.